Idaho Matters is one way to learn about the people, the places, and the things that make Idaho unique. From the geography, the flora and the fauna, to the culture and arts of this place that we call home. Subscribe and listen to Idaho Matters today at boisestatepublicradio.org/podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector. It's Idaho's daily news. Good morning. I'm George Prentice. This morning, of course, we have an election preview. We're going to focus on safety and the security of tomorrow's vote. Just to mix things up a little bit, we'll also have a sports update, and we have a really interesting story from the Yellowstone ecosystem, where we will tell you about a very rare cremation of a grizzly. It is Monday. It's the 4th of November, and here we go with today's stories. Election Day is tomorrow, and Idaho Secretary of State Phil McGrain says Idaho has precautions in place to make sure voting will be safe and secure. Jackson Holmes reports.
McGrain said news of ballot boxes being set on fire in Washington and Oregon is alarming, but Idaho has ways to mitigate any damages to ballot drop boxes.
We do have many of our drop boxes, so I know here in the Treasure Valley have fire suppression systems in them. What's noteworthy and why I say that is if you've seen the video footage, it's the video footage from Vancouver, Washington, where there was the burning ballots. Oregon also had the same incident in Portland, but the Oregon drop box had a fire suppression system, which did save the ballots inside.
McGrain added that if someone is worried about the safety of their ballot, they can take it to their county's election office or spoil their absentee ballot and vote in person on Tuesday. The Secretary of State also explained nobody will know who or what you vote for. For those that participated in mail-in voting, those ballots are sealed in 2 separate envelopes to disconnect ballots from voters.
They'll remove all the exterior envelopes first, and then they'll go back through and remove the ballots from the interior, the secrecy sleeve, secondarily, and that's in an effort to disassociate names from ballots in the process.
In-person ballots are not linked to voter identity either. McGrain added Ada County's ballot verifier, which allows voters to verify all ballots were accurately recorded and counted, will not be connected to voters. That information will be available a few weeks after the election. Jackson Holmes, Boise State Public Radio News.
In the current political environment, some are asking if environmentalism can go back to the day when it was nonpartisan. Anna Mersbach reports.
Benji Backer says we can't tackle climate change without Republicans. He leads an organization that tries to get conservatives involved and says to reach more people on the right, you need to speak their language.
There are certain words that evoke a really negative reaction, and it's not that people don't care about these topics, it's that they associate them with things they don't like.
For example, he says calling yourself an environmentalist can turn off conservatives, but talking about values can work.
So like nature, environment itself, like the word environment, conservation, stewardship, those are words that conservatives can really rally behind.
He says if you relate climate action to local needs rather than the political culture wars, conservatives will get on board. For the Mountain West News Bureau, I'm Hannah Mersbach.
Emotions have been running high in eastern Idaho and the Yellowstone ecosystem, that as federal wildlife officials have now spread the ashes of world-famous bear 399. As Hannah Mersbach reports, cremating a grizzly is a very rare move.
Typically, bears killed by cars like 399 are left in the forest, moved to a landfill, or stuffed and put on display at museums or visitor centers. But 399 wasn't your typical bear. She was known as the oldest reproducing female grizzly in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Fans like photographer Siler Peralta Ramos are happy with the decision to cremate her.
We were all really worried that she would become a trophy of sort. It would have felt wrong for her to be kind of mounted in that kind of way.
399's ashes were spread in her natural habitat, Pilgrim Creek. It's the first time a staff can remember cremating a grizzly. For the Mountain West News Bureau, I'm Hannah Mersbach.
In sports, the Boise State Broncos back on the blue later this week, that following one of the most convincing wins of this or any season in recent memory, a 56-24 win over conference rival San Diego State. It was a career night for Bronco quarterback Maddox Madsen. He finished the evening with 24 completions, good for 307 yards. Here's head coach Spencer Danielson.
And I get asked a lot, how's the team doing with all the hype and all the pats on the back? And all I know is how they work when no one's watching. Bloody Tuesday, workday Wednesday. Our guys are out there on the blue, in the cold, working their tails off to improve.
So Boise State home again this coming Saturday. They'll take on Nevada. And tomorrow, Tuesday, we'll find out where Boise State stands in the College Football Playoff Committee's first ranking of the season. That is today's episode of The Connector. I'm George Prentice. We'll see you back here Tuesday. It's a date. Say we'd love it if you could rate or review The Connector where you're listening right now. And if you're feeling generous, spread the word in your circle or share The Connector with a friend that you might think would like it. And thanks. No, truly, thank you for listening.
No matter what happens in Washington, the NPR Politics Podcast is here for you. For the latest news, insights, and analysis from the election and beyond, listen to the NPR Politics Podcast.